He was just a regular guy, a software engineer named Alex, married for 5 years to Sarah. To him, their life was perfect. They had a cozy little house in the suburbs, a golden retriever named Max, and a routine that felt safe and comfortable. Alex loved Sarah more than anything. He loved her laugh, the way she crinkled her nose when she was thinking, and how she always knew how to make him feel better after a long day at work. For 5 years, he believed she was his soulmate, his partner in everything. But lately, something had felt off. A subtle shift, a coolness that had crept into their home. It started small. Sarah began working late more often. She'd come home exhausted, smelling faintly of a perfume he didn't recognize. When he asked about her day, her answers became vague. Just a lot of meetings, she'd say, or we're pushing to meet a deadline. Alex, wanting to be a supportive husband, didn't push. He'd make her dinner, run her a bath, and try to ease the stress he thought was coming from her job. He even suggested she take a break. Maybe they could go on a vacation, just the two of them. But she always had an excuse. The timing wasn't right, or she was too swamped at the office. Then came the late-night texts. Her phone, which used to lie face up on the nightstand, was now always face down. It would buzz late into the night, and she'd quickly silence it, muttering something about a group chat for work. Alex tried to ignore the knot of suspicion tightening in his gut. He trusted her. He had to. This was Sarah, the love of his life. He told himself he was being paranoid, that the stress of his own job was making him see things that weren't there. But the signs kept piling up. She started going to the gym in the evenings, something she'd never been interested in before. She bought new clothes, lingerie that he never got to see. The distance between them grew, not just emotionally, but physically. His hugs felt one-sided, and her kisses were brief and distracted. The easy intimacy they once shared had evaporated, replaced by an awkward tension. Alex felt like he was living with a stranger, a polite roommate who shared his bed, but not his life. The silence in their house became deafening. One Friday night, things came to a head. Sarah told him she was going out for drinks with the girls from work. It wasn't unusual, but her excitement felt forced. As she was getting ready, she seemed jittery. She put on a new dress, a sleek black number that he'd never seen before, and spent extra time on her hair and makeup. When she kissed him goodbye, her lips barely brushed his cheek. "Don't wait up," she said, her eyes avoiding his. As the door clicked shut, a wave of cold dread washed over Alex. The excuses, the late nights, the secret texts, it all coalesced into a single, painful thought. Something was wrong. He sat on the couch for what felt like hours, Max's head resting on his lap. The house was too quiet. The trust he had cherished for 5 years was crumbling, and he knew he couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. Had to know the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. He had never been the type to be suspicious or jealous, but this feeling, this gut-wrenching intuition, was too strong to ignore. He decided to do something he never thought he would. He was going to follow her. His heart pounded in his chest as he grabbed his car keys. He felt like a fool, a cliché from a bad movie, but the need to know was overwhelming. He drove towards the downtown area where Sarah had said she was meeting her friends. He didn't have a plan. What would he even do if he found her? He just drove, his mind racing. He checked a few of the popular bars she and her friends usually frequented, but her car was nowhere to be seen. He was about to give up, to go home and try to pretend this night never happened, when he remembered a new, upscale lounge that had just opened on the other side of town. It wasn't her usual scene, but a small, nagging voice told him to check, and there it was. Her car parked near the entrance of the Velvet Room, a place known for its dim lighting and intimate atmosphere. It definitely wasn't a girls' night out kind of place. His hands trembled as he parked across the street, his view partially obscured by a large oak tree. He felt a lump form in his throat. Part of him wanted to drive away, to live in blissful ignorance, but he couldn't. He had to see. He had to know. He waited. 10 minutes turned into 20, then 30. Just as he was starting to think he was wrong, that maybe she really was just with her friends, the door to the lounge opened. And there she was, Sarah. She was laughing, her head thrown back in a way he hadn't seen in months. But she wasn't with her girlfriends. She was with a man. A tall, handsome man in a tailored suit. Alex's blood ran cold as he watched the man lean in and whisper something in her ear. his hand resting possessively on the small of her back. It was a gesture of intimate familiarity that sent a dagger through Alex's heart. He couldn't breathe. It was like the air had been punched out of his lungs. He watched, frozen, as the man hailed a taxi. Sarah got in, followed by him. They didn't go their separate ways. They got in together. Alex's mind went blank with a mixture of rage and profound sadness. Without thinking, he started his car and followed the taxi. He kept a safe distance, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The taxi didn't head towards their home. It didn't head towards her friend's neighborhood. It went in the opposite direction, towards a high-end residential area filled with luxury apartments. The taxi pulled up in front of a modern, glass-fronted building. Alex parked down the street, his heart hammering against his ribs. He watched as they got out of the cab. The man wrapped his arm around Sarah's waist, pulling her close. And then, under the dim glow of the streetlights, he kissed her. It wasn't a quick peck. It was a deep, passionate kiss, the kind Alex hadn't received in years. Sarah melted into him, her arms wrapping around his neck. The image was burned into Alex's mind, a permanent scar on his memory. They walked into the building together, disappearing from his sight. Alex just sat there, in the darkness of his car, staring at the empty street. The world around him felt surreal, muffled. The perfect life he thought he had, the woman he thought he knew it, was all a lie. Every late night at work, every girl's night out, every secret text message suddenly made a sickening kind of sense. He felt a profound sense of betrayal, a pain so deep it was physical. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the deception, the years of lies. He had been a fool. He drove home in a daze. The house, their home, felt alien. Every picture of them smiling, every souvenir from their trips, every piece of furniture they had picked out together felt like a prop in a play he did and know he was acting in. He walked into their bedroom and looked at her side of the bed. The scent of her perfume lingered on the pillow. He felt a surge of anger, followed by an overwhelming wave of grief. The woman he had promised to love and cherish, in sickness and in health, had shattered their world. He didn't sleep that night. He sat on the living room floor, with Max by his side, replaying the scene over and over in his mind. The laughter, the touch, the kiss. By the time the sun began to rise, the grief had hardened into a cold resolve. He knew what he had to do. There was no going back. The trust was gone, shattered into a million irreparable pieces. This one night, this single act of following his gut had revealed everything. It was the end of his marriage, the end of the life he knew. But in a strange way, it was also a beginning, the beginning of the truth. When Sarah finally came home in the morning looking tired but trying to act normal, she found Alex sitting at the kitchen table. Her packed suitcases were by the door. She opened her mouth to speak, to spin another lie, but the look in Alex's eyes stopped her. There was no anger, no shouting. It was just a calm, devastating emptiness. He didn't need to say a word. She knew that he knew. In the silence of that morning, their 5-year marriage came to an end. It was a painful, heartbreaking conclusion, but for Alex, it was also a release from a life built on deceit. The road ahead would be difficult, but at least now it would be honest. He was finally free,